everyone. So for my presentation, I am focusing on workplace burnout among local government public information officers. And really, to start, I wanted to first give a quick kind of just synopsis of what a public information officer is. So they serve as a spokesperson for the organization. They coordinate information and community relation programs for the public at large, including managing misinformation, which is a large one. They respond to media requests on behalf of the organization, along with open records requests. They serve in a consulting role to elected officials on matters of public relations and community engagement practices. They oversee all facets of communication process, from writing, editing, website, social media, language translations, and a variety of communication means to reach the public. And they respond to disasters by serving in the Joint Information Center with the responsibility of communicating life-saving information and directives needed during natural disasters or threats to the community. And this job is typically high pressure, writing intensive, and it deals with negative topics in nature. This job typically is a 24/7 job, and you're always on in case something happens. And I actually did include a picture here of myself. This is me here talking at the podium before we started the news conference at the St. Francis Mass Shooting News Conference. And just to give a perspective of what kind of that PIO role looks like in practice. So, workplace burnout, I wanted to start with just a definition of what it is. So workplace burnout is an occupation-related syndrome resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been managed well. That burnout involves an ongoing emotional exhaustion, psychological distance or negativity from friends, family, all adding to a state where there's job-related stressors that are not being effectively managed, especially from the normal rest found in work breaks or weekends or evenings. So that is what workplace burnout is defined as. So I also wanted to pull some facts and figures of why workplace burnout is an issue, especially in the workplace and for the person. Employees who experience true workplace burnout have a 57% increased risk of workplace absence, especially due to illness. They have a 180% increased risk of developing depressive disorders, 84% increased risk of type 2 diabetes, and 40% increased risk of hypertension. And you might say, well, why is that important? Why should people care about that? Well, I think one of the things that, for me as a manager, I don't want my employees, one, feeling this burnout, and two, the causes of, what this burnout could mean for them are these health related issues. You want your employees to thrive and be happy and healthy, and having burnout really, the stats show here, it's not a good thing. So my problem statement for the research project is workplace burnout among local government PIOs continues to increase, with PIOs managing crisis communications, navigating isolating political climates, dealing with a higher level of misinformation, and meeting public expectations. These challenges were exacerbated during the pandemic and have continued to shift based on residents' outlook of government and government officials. So the project rationale and research gaps when it comes to the problem statement that I just mentioned. There are many studies about workplace burnout, but more of the studies that I found are really regarding like the frontline workers. So those are the people like the first responders, our healthcare employees, police officers, firefighters. A lot of the studies that I found, like true, like deep studies, were more really focused around people doing that frontline work. So the communication studies I did find, most of them had been done pre-pandemic. So the pandemic, as we all know, has really changed the public outlook of government and the overall outlook of residents in general. So to me, I think that there could be some updated data in this field, especially regarding my research topic. So when we investigate some organizational areas such as workload distribution, leadership styles, actionable solutions could be identified to help with the burnout. So with this information in hand, communication directors like myself, city managers, can help address burnout in these critical roles of the PIs that we need, decrease turnover, and help with workplace productivity. So as a local government communications director with nearly 20 years of experience, along with, my national PIO network and national professional PIO organizations that I serve in, I feel very well positioned to do this study as I have done this work for nearly 20 years. And so when it comes to the objectives and research questions, first we really need to identify the key factors for burnout among local government PIOs and recommend solutions to prevent or mitigate this burnout. So some of the examples that I thought of when it comes to these research questions would be, what organizational, psychological, or situational factors contribute to the burnout or the burnout that you're having? What and how do job expectations and the resources available impact burnout? And do organizational policies or strategies help with the burnout? And if so, are they effective? This is like mental health programming or de-stressors at work, things of that nature that help people kind of have a better balance when it comes to the stress in their due to their jobs. And so in my mind, from a research perspective, I was thinking these topics right here and these themes really would help set kind of the stage of what would help burnout when it comes to being a PIO for, a local government. Would increase paid time off help, addressing toxic behaviors in the workplace, mental health and well-being resources, are those available and readily available to employees? Do we have a supportive and inclusive culture at the city or the organization that you serve? Is there a sustainable workload or appropriate staffing? I think that's probably a large one. Is the workload is so heavy and you're working constantly? Is it because we need to bring somebody else in? Growth opportunities. Do you have room to grow within your department or the organization where you feel like you're an active team member? And then leadership styles. I feel like this goes across the board. Doesn't have to be government necessarily, but different leadership styles, especially in high stress jobs, really do look differently when it comes from employee to the leader. So the methodology that I have wrote down here, variables from an independent perspective, workload, resources, organizational support, and then dependent would be the level of burnout. So the approaches that I have wrote down here, obviously for the sampling, would be the sample size would be 20 to 30 local government PIOs from across the nation with more than 1 year of experience. And so I need to make sure that there's clarity on the specific PIO role. For instance, a city PIO, which is typically, like that's my type of job, working for the municipal government, we're going to look a lot different working on government and different departmental work than, say, a fire or police PIO. They have been noted to have higher levels of trauma based on what they see on scene. That might look a little bit differently. So just making sure that we're tracking those appropriately and can make note of the type of PIO that we're interviewing. We definitely want to make sure we exclude non-governmental PIOs since this is strictly for local government PIOs, so no corporations, companies, nonprofits. We're really just looking at local government PIOs. And then I also want to make sure that we're tracking the size city that the PIO serves, as well as the organizational makeup. So, for instance, I serve in a city of about 411,000 people. There's PIOs that serve New York City and Detroit, Miami, all sorts of different varying levels of large metros to even smaller cities. And so just making sure we understand the makeup. Are these individuals reporting to the C-suite? Is there a lot of level of management between them and the CEO? A lot of things like that I want to make sure that we're really tracking to get a better understanding of kind of the lay of the land. And then we'll also use, purposive sampling based on individuals with these jobs. Snowball sampling will probably also be used through our partner participation that I'll talk about in a minute. So for a methodology, the survey will be qualitative to better understand the experiences, behaviors, perceptions of individuals potentially experiencing this burnout. And interviews will be on a one-on-one basis, focus on participant experiences, job stressors, organizational support, and we may even ask for potential work samples to gain a better understanding of the workload and the information that they're trying to get out day to day. So from a data perspective, interviews will be audio recorded and PIOs will be brought in to help the researcher understand the transcripts of the recordings afterward. Considerations will also be made to ensure there's ethical oversight and no confidentiality concerns. So some PIOs may not be comfortable sharing workplace information in fear of retaliation. So we would just want to make sure that there's a level of comfort and kind of free of fear to make sure that they're comfortable in speaking about these topics that impact their work. Surveys will be distributed to the local network of the government PIOs as well as the National Information Officers Association. So partners in this would include our Department of Homeland Security Master Public Information Officer Program and the National Information Officers Association. Coding would then be split into identified categories while using analysis software to develop themes. Some of the themes that I mentioned earlier about, looking at is it workplace related, as it has to do with programming, some things like that. So from a timeline overview, I wrote flexible on this because I understand that there's going to be a little bit more to do when it comes to taking these surveys because they're going to be time intensive. So looking at, month 1 to 2, finalize our research design, gain consent with IRB approval, test questions with a couple local PIOs to make sure we're on the right track before we really start. Month 3 to 5, begin the recruitment for survey takers and then conduct these structured interviews. And this is probably where I was talking about the flexibility. We might really need to make sure that we're looking at how long that might be. It may go longer than 3 to 5 months, and I probably expect it will. Month 6 to 8, begin coding and develop things to group together. So that's where that's where the work on the back end really starts. And then month 9 to 10, draft results and finalize the report to share results with our partners and potential city managers and communication directors so they know what's going on with our critical PIOs to make sure that they're having a happy, healthy organization. So just in closing, through this research and support for local government public information officers, I believe that will be increased based on the outcomes from this research. This research will also help managers avoid high turnover in these critical roles while also incorporating potential changes needed as it relates to staffing, workload, mental health resources, increased training, and stress management. And I mentioned a little bit earlier about Joint Information Center and responding to natural disasters. And this is actually in Tulsa at one of the last natural disasters we had. So this is a few members of my team and the fire PIO. So with that, I have included my references here, along with some studies that I looked at. I mentioned earlier that there weren't tons of communication studies on this, but I did find a lot on healthcare and also this one that says Burnout in Blue, which was an analysis on law enforcement specifically. Thank you. It was a great semester, and I'm sure I'll see many of you soon. Thank you.